The palace of Zorath glowed under 3 purple moons. The air shimmered with energy as the alien queen gave birth to her child. But when the nurse saw the baby's face, her hands began to shake. The child was small. Her skin was pale and uneven. Her eyes were not bright like her mother's, they were dull silver like broken glass. The queen, still weak from the pain, looked at her newborn and frowned. "This is my daughter," she whispered. The royal court stood in silence. No one dared to speak. The queen's mate, the king of Zorath, had died in battle months before. This baby was his last memory. But instead of joy, the queen felt only shame. "She is flawed," the high advisor said carefully. "Her appearance is not fit for the royal line. The people will not understand." The queen turned away. "Take her away. She will bring dishonor to the throne." The nurse tried to protest, but the queen's voice turned cold. "I said take her away." And so on the same night the child was born, she was taken from her mother's arms and locked inside a small silver pod. Her name was never spoken. Her mother called her a mistake. The pod was sent through space, hidden from the galaxy's eyes. No name, no future, only silence. Far away, on a quiet planet called Earth 47, a widowed man named Eli Grayson lived alone on a small farm. He had lost his wife 3 years ago in an accident, and since then, his home felt like an empty shell. His days were long, his nights even longer. One cold evening, as rain poured across the valley, Eli heard a strange humming sound outside. The lights flickered. The animals began to panic. He grabbed his old jacket and flashlight, stepping out into the storm. There, in the middle of his field, something was glowing, a small round object, half buried in the mud. Steam rose from its surface. Eli froze. "What in the world?" He walked closer and brushed away the dirt. It wasn't a meteor. It looked built, smooth metal, glowing lines, and a faint heartbeat sound from within. He pressed a hand on it, and suddenly, the shell split open with a soft hiss. Inside was a baby, not a human baby. Her skin had a faint blue tint, and her eyes were silver and shining in the dark. She made a weak sound, half a cry, half a whisper. Eli's heart skipped. "Oh my God, what are you?" He looked around, expecting something to come for her. But the sky was empty. Only the rain and thunder answered. The baby reached out her small hand, touching Eli's rough human finger. Her skin was cold, but the touch was gentle. Trusting, Eli hesitated. "You shouldn't be here. I can't take care of you." But the child only looked at him and smiled. A fragile, beautiful smile. Something inside Eli broke. The loneliness, the grief, all of it came rushing back. He whispered, "All right, maybe for tonight." He carried her inside, wrapped her in a blanket, and lit the fire. She curled up in his arms like she belonged there. The next morning, Eli examined the strange pod. It had markings he didn't understand, glowing symbols, maybe a language. It hummed softly, as if alive. When he touched one of the panels, a small projection appeared, a hologram of an alien woman wearing a crown. The Queen. Her voice echoed softly. "To whoever finds this child, she is a mistake of royal blood. Dispose of her and you will be rewarded." Eli's face darkened. He looked at the baby in his arms. She blinked up at him, innocent and calm. "A mistake?" he muttered. "You're just a baby." He walked to the fireplace and threw the projection crystal into the flames. It burned with blue fire, then turned to dust. "You're not a mistake," he said quietly. "You're a gift." And with that he made a promise, though he didn't fully understand why. He would raise her, protect her, love her, whatever she was, wherever she came from. She was his now. That night, as he put her to sleep, he thought he saw something outside, a shadow moving among the trees. 2 glowing red eyes watched from the distance. A whisper floated on the wind. She must never live. The Queen's secret must die. Eli closed the curtains and held the baby tighter. He didn't know that by saving this child, he had just changed the destiny of 2 worlds. And somewhere in the stars, the Queen of Zorath woke from her sleep, haunted by a feeling she couldn't explain. The daughter she called a mistake still lived. The sun rose gently over Eli's small farm. Golden light touched the wet grass and the broken pod that had fallen from the sky. Inside the house, the baby slept quietly in a basket beside the fire. Eli sat in his old chair, drinking coffee, watching her breathe. He still couldn't believe it. An alien child, in his home, in his care. Her tiny chest rose and fell slowly. Her skin shimmered faintly as if soft light lived beneath it. Every now and then her eyes opened, silver, clear, curious. She didn't cry much. She just looked around, studying everything like the world was new and full of secrets. Eli had seen many strange things in his life. Storms, falling stars, broken machines. But nothing like this. He spoke softly, mostly to himself. "Guess you're stuck with me, huh?" The baby blinked and reached out her hand again, just like she did the night before. Eli sighed and smiled. "All right then. We'll figure this out together." He named her Lyra after his late wife's favorite constellation. Days turned into weeks. Lyra grew faster than a human child. Within a few months she was walking, talking in short words and asking endless questions. Her voice was soft but clear, carrying a strange musical tone. "Papa," she would say, pointing to the sunrise. "Why sky cry light?" Eli chuckled. "That's not crying, sweetheart. That's morning." She nodded, pretending to understand, and touched his cheek gently. "Morning. Warm, every day." Eli taught her small things, how to plant seeds, how to feed animals, how to say please and thank you. But Lyra taught him something far greater, how to feel alive again. The townspeople, however, noticed. They whispered. "Eli's gone mad," said one man at the local store. "He's keeping some kind of alien creature in his house," said another. Eli ignored them. He didn't care what anyone said. Lyra was his daughter now, and no fear or gossip could change that, but still the whispers grew louder. People started avoiding him. Some even crossed the street when he passed by. One afternoon, when Eli took Lyra into town for supplies, a boy shouted, "Monster!" Lyra stopped, confused. Her small hand tightened around Eli's. Eli bent down and looked her in the eyes. "Don't listen to them, Lyra. People fear what they don't understand." She nodded slowly. But that night she cried in silence, asking, "Papa, why they hate me?" Eli didn't know how to explain. He just held her close and whispered, "Because they can't see what I see." As time passed, strange things began to happen around Lyra. When she laughed, the lamps flickered. When she cried, the air felt heavy and small objects moved on their own. Eli noticed but never spoke of it. He only said, "You're special, Lyra. Don't be afraid of who you are." One evening, as a storm rolled across the valley, lightning struck a tree near the house. The fire spread fast. Eli rushed out with a bucket, but the flames were too strong. Lyra ran forward, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. "No, Papa." She raised her hands, and then suddenly the fire bent backward, twisting away like it feared her. A bright blue light surrounded her, swallowing the flames. When it was over, the tree still stood, untouched. The rain fell softly again. Eli stared at her, speechless. "Lyra, what did you just do?" She looked frightened. "I don't know, Papa. The fire—" It listened. He knelt beside her and took her trembling hands. "Then we keep it secret, okay? The world's not ready to see your light." She nodded, wiping her tears. "Secret?" That night, after Lyra fell asleep, Eli sat by the window thinking. He knew now deep inside that she wasn't just different, she was powerful. Maybe too powerful. He remembered the message from the hologram. "Dispose of her, and you will be rewarded." "No. Never," he whispered into the dark. "You'll be safe, Lyra, even if the whole universe comes for you." But outside, beyond the forest, something shimmered again. A small drone, silent as the wind, recorded the scene through a red lens. Miles away in deep space, a transmission was sent. Target located. The Queen's mistake lives. The next morning, Lyra found a small flower growing beside the burnt tree. It was glowing faintly blue, the same color as her light. She plucked it and gave it to Eli. "For you, Papa," she said. He took it gently and smiled. "You always bring beauty where there's pain." And in that small, quiet moment, neither of them knew that their peaceful days were ending. The stars above were already moving, preparing to bring the past back into their lives. The mother who abandoned her child had finally learned that her mistake still lived, and that mistake now had a human heart. The night sky above Eli's farm had always been peaceful. Stars blinked softly, and the wind carried the smell of wild grass. But lately the stars seemed different. They flickered, almost like they were watching. Eli sat on the porch, his old rifle beside him, staring at the horizon. It had been 5 years since Lyra arrived. She was now tall for her age, graceful and stronger than she knew. Her silver eyes glowed faintly under the moonlight as she read an old storybook by the fire inside. Life had become simple again. Quiet days, shared laughter, and long evenings full of stories. But deep inside, Eli couldn't shake a feeling that peace was only an illusion. Sometimes, he'd wake at night to see strange lights moving across the sky. Not stars, but ships, silent, watching. One night as he walked toward the barn, Eli noticed something glowing in the field. He frowned and went closer. A circle of light shimmered on the ground made of strange symbols. He knelt and touched the soil, and still warm. "What in the world?" he whispered. Suddenly, a soft humming filled the air. A projection appeared above the ground, a ghostly image of a tall alien in armor. Its face was hidden behind a mask. "The Queen's child has been found," it said in a deep voice. "Prepare for retrieval." The light faded instantly, leaving only silence. Eli's heart pounded. They were coming. He ran back to the house, trying not to wake Lyra, but she was already standing by the window. "Papa," she said quietly. "I saw the light. It spoke. It said something about me." Eli looked into her eyes. Those silver eyes that reminded him of the stars. He took a deep breath. "Lyra, there's something I never told you." She waited, silent, her fingers clutching the blanket. "The night I found you," he said slowly, "you came from the sky. From another world. Someone sent you away. They called you a mistake." Lyra didn't speak. She just stared at the floor. "I didn't care what they called you," Eli continued softly. "To me you were a gift, but now they might be coming to take you back." Her lips trembled. "They can't. I don't belong to them." "I belong here, with you." Eli nodded, his voice breaking. "And I'll protect you no matter what." The next day, Eli packed a few things: tools, food, and old maps. He hid the glowing pod, still buried in the shed under heavy boards. It hadn't made a sound in years, but that morning it pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Lyra helped him carry supplies. "Papa, are we leaving?" "Just being careful," he said. "Sometimes it's good to be ready before trouble finds you." That evening, as they sat by the fire, Lyra asked, "Do you think my mother remembers me?" Eli stared into the flames. "If she did, she wouldn't have sent you away." Lyra nodded slowly. But somewhere deep inside, she felt something strange, like a whisper echoing in her mind. A voice calling her name, "Lyra." She gasped and looked around. No one was there. "Papa?" Eli looked up. "What is it?" She shook her head quickly. "Nothing, just the wind." But it wasn't the wind. It was the stars speaking to her. That night as she slept, Lyra dreamed. She saw tall crystal towers under a purple sky. A woman in a silver crown stood before her, cold and distant. The woman's voice echoed, "You should not have lived." Lyra tried to run, but the ground broke apart, falling into blackness. Then another voice spoke, Eli's voice. "You're my daughter, Lyra. Nothing can change that." The light of his words pushed the darkness away. When she opened her eyes, the morning sun filled her room. But her hands were glowing again. Outside, Eli was already working. He looked up when he saw her and smiled. "Morning, kiddo. You look like you saw a ghost." Lyra forced a small smile. "Just a dream." But before he could answer, the ground trembled. The animals panicked. Birds fled from the trees. From above, a shadow passed over the farm. Huge, silent, metallic. Eli grabbed his rifle and ran outside. A ship hovered low above the clouds, its surface glinting like black glass. A voice boomed through the air, mechanical and cold. "Return the Queen's child, human. You have what does not belong to you." Lyra stood in the doorway, her eyes wide. "Papa." He turned to her, calm but firm. "Go inside, Lyra. But now." She obeyed, but tears filled her eyes. Eli looked up at the sky. "You're not taking her," he whispered. The ship hummed louder and beams of light began to scan the ground. Eli ran toward the barn, heart racing, knowing that his quiet life was over. As the ship disappeared back into the clouds, Lyra came out, trembling. "They found us, didn't they?" Eli nodded. "Oh yes, but it doesn't matter. I've fought storms before. I'll fight this one too." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever happens, remember what I told you. You're not a mistake. You're my daughter." Lyra's silver eyes glowed brighter than ever before. Somewhere in her heart, something ancient awakened. a power that had been sleeping since the day she arrived. And for the first time, the whispers from the stars weren't full of fear. They were full of warning. The morning after the strange ship appeared, the sky above Eli's farm was gray and silent. The usual sound of birds was gone. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. Eli worked quietly, pretending everything was normal. But inside, his mind was racing. He knew they were being watched. Every shadow near the forest looked darker. Every rustle in the grass made his hand tighten around the rifle. He'd lived through wars and loss, but nothing like this. Nothing that threatened the one thing he loved more than his own life. Lyra. Inside the house, Lyra sat by the window, tracing shapes in the fogged glass. She felt something strange deep in her chest, like a pull, a voice that whispered from far away just beyond her understanding. She looked up when Eli entered. "Papa," she asked softly, "if I wasn't born here, where do I come from?" Eli froze. He'd been waiting for this question. He sat down across from her, took a long breath, and said, "You came from the stars, Lyra, from a world far beyond ours. The people who made you, they're not like us. They're powerful, proud, and cold, and they threw you away because you were different." Lyra's silver eyes filled with tears. "Because I looked wrong?" Eli shook his head. "Because they didn't see your heart." She blinked slowly. "Do you think they'll come back for me?" He looked out the window. "I think they already have." Later that day, while Lyra fed the animals, a visitor arrived. A tall figure in a dark cloak riding a small hoverbike stopped at the gate. His face was hidden under a metal hood. Eli stepped out carefully, hand near his weapon. "You're far from town, friend." The stranger lifted his head slightly. His eyes glowed faint blue. "I'm not from your town, human. I am from Zorath." Eli's heart stopped. "Then you better talk fast," the man nodded. "I mean no harm. I am only a messenger. The Queen's soldiers are searching this sector. They know the child is alive." "You must leave before they find you." Eli frowned. "Why are you helping us?" The alien paused. "Because I serve the king, Lyra's father. He was not like the Queen. He wanted the child to live, but after he died, she ordered her death." Eli's voice hardened. "So she really wanted her gone?" "Yes," the messenger said sadly. "The Queen feared her own daughter's power. The girl carries the heart of Zorath, a light born once every 1,000 years. But her form, her imperfect body, brought the Queen shame. So she hid her mistake." Eli clenched his fists. "A mistake? That's what she called her own child?" The alien looked down. "Yes. But the universe has a strange way of correcting cruelty. The heart of Zorath cannot be destroyed. It can only grow stronger through love." He handed Eli a small crystal, glowing faintly blue. "This will help her understand who she is. Keep it hidden until the time is right." Before Eli could ask more, the alien turned, started his hoverbike, and disappeared into the mist. That night, Eli showed Lyra the crystal. It pulsed softly in her hand, matching her heartbeat. When she closed her eyes, 1,000 images filled her mind. Silver towers, purple skies, and a woman's cold face turning away. She gasped and dropped the crystal. "I saw her. My mother." Eli caught her as she stumbled. "Easy, kiddo." "It's okay." Tears streamed down her cheeks. She looked at me like I was nothing. Eli wiped her tears gently. "You're not nothing. You're everything good she couldn't see." Lyra looked up at him. "If she comes, will you still love me?" He smiled softly, though his heart ached. No queen, no army, no star can change that. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Clouds moved like living shadows. The ground shook faintly, and from far away, the low hum of engines filled the night. Lyra turned toward the window. "They're coming, Papa." Eli grabbed his old jacket and checked the rifle. "Then we'll be ready." But Lyra shook her head. "You can't fight them. Not like this." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "I don't need to fight them. I just need to protect you." She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing brighter than ever. "You already did, Papa. You gave me what no one else ever did." "What's that?" he asked. "A reason to live." In the sky, lights appeared, 6 glowing dots moving in perfect formation. "The Queen's ships," Eli whispered. "Then we fight for that reason." As he spoke, the crystal in Lyra's hand began to shine, filling the room with blue light. The floor trembled and every shadow vanished in its glow. Eli stepped back in awe. "Lyra, what's happening?" She looked down at him, her voice soft but certain. I think I'm remembering who I am. And somewhere far above, on the royal ship of Zorath, the Queen's eyes snapped open. She awakens, she said coldly. Then the time has come to end my mistake. The sky above Earth 47 burned red that night, not with fire, but with arrival. A massive ship broke through the clouds, black, cold, and silent. Lightning rippled around its surface as it descended toward the valley. The ground shook under its weight. Animals scattered, winds roared, and every light in Eli's house flickered out. Lyra stood by the window, her heart racing. She already knew who it was. The Queen, she whispered. Eli loaded his rifle, though he knew it wouldn't matter. Stay behind me, Lyra. Whatever happens, don't move. The ship landed in the field, crushing the grass flat. The air shimmered as a ramp opened, releasing a wave of silver mist. From it, armored aliens stepped out, tall, sharp, glowing blue under their helmets. And then she appeared, the Queen of Zorath. She was beautiful and terrifying, her silver crown pulsing with light, her cloak floating like smoke. Her eyes were the same color as Lyra's, but colder, empty of warmth. She looked around the small human farm and smiled faintly. So this is where you've been hiding, my little failure. Lyra flinched at the word. Eli stepped forward, jaw tight. She's not your failure. She's my daughter. The Queen tilted her head, almost amused. Your daughter? You think love can change what she is? I know it can, Eli said. Because I've seen it. The Queen's eyes narrowed. You humans, always believing emotion can rewrite nature. But she is not like you. Her power belongs to Zorath. Return her and I might spare your world. Eli didn't move. You can't have her. Her smile vanished. You dare defy a queen? Eli's hands didn't shake. I dare to be a father. The soldiers raised their weapons. Light built in their arms, energy blasters charging. Lyra ran forward. Stop, don't hurt him. Blue energy flashed, but before the shots could reach, Lyra's body glowed. The air bent around her like water. The bolt stopped mid-air, then vanished in a burst of silver light. Everyone froze. The Queen's expression hardened. So it's true. The heart has awakened. Lyra's hair floated in the air, her eyes glowing like twin suns. Why did you hate me? She asked, her voice trembling. The Queen's lips curled. Because you were born broken. The people expected a perfect heir, not a creature with dull skin and weak form. I did what was necessary to protect the throne. Lyra's voice rose. You threw me away because I didn't look like you. The Queen stepped closer. You were a shame I could not carry. Eli stepped between them. Then you don't deserve her. The Queen's eyes blazed with fury. Enough, take her. The soldiers rushed forward. Eli fired his rifle. 1, 2, 3 shots, useless against their armor, but enough to draw their fire away from Lyra. He dove behind the tractor, rolled, and shouted, Run, Lyra! Go, Lyra screamed. No! Her power exploded. A wave of silver light burst from her body, throwing the soldiers back like leaves in a storm. The ground cracked, trees bent, and the Queen's ship groaned under the pressure. Eli shielded his face as light filled the valley. When it faded, the soldiers were gone, disarmed, stunned. Only Lyra and the Queen remained standing. Lyra fell to her knees, trembling. The glow around her faded. Eli rushed to her side, holding her tight. I'm here. I've got you. The Queen stared at them both, the human and the child glowing faintly in his arms. You cannot hide her forever, she said softly. You think your love is strength, but it is weakness. One day her power will consume her. And you, Eli looked up at her. If that's what it takes to give her a chance, then I'll take it. The Queen's eyes flickered with something strange, not anger, but confusion. For the first time she seemed unsure. She turned away. You don't understand what she carries. The heart of Zorath is not a blessing. It is a curse. When it fully awakens, it will destroy everything around it. Lyra's voice shook. Then why give it to me? The Queen's face darkened. Because destiny chose you, not me, and I could not bear it. For a moment, silence filled the air. Only the soft hum of the ship remained. Eli rose to his feet, still holding Lyra's hand. You may be a queen, he said quietly, but you stopped being a mother long ago. The Queen turned her gaze toward him. Perhaps, but blood still binds us, and soon you will see that love cannot save her. With a wave of her hand, the soldiers and the ship began to fade, dissolving into thin air. The wind died. The field was empty again. Lyra looked up at the sky, tears glimmering in her eyes. Popham, what if she's right? Eli brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. Then we'll prove her wrong. He smiled, tired but certain. Because love may not change the stars, but it can change what they shine on. Far above, the Queen watched from her command deck, silent. For the first time she doubted herself. If love was truly weakness, why did it look so powerful from here? Days passed after the Queen's ship vanished, but peace never truly returned. The sky over the valley no longer felt the same. The stars seemed closer now, like 1,000 eyes watching from above. Eli fixed the broken fence, fed the animals, and tried to keep life normal. But every sound made him turn. Every light in the distance made his hand reach for his rifle. He knew they would come again. Queens don't make threats, they finish them. Lyra stayed close to him, quieter than usual. Since the battle, her powers had grown stronger. Lights flickered when she was upset. Water rippled around her without wind. And sometimes when she dreamed, the house shook softly. She was changing. One morning, Eli found her sitting by the river staring at her reflection. The water glowed faintly where her fingers touched it. I hurt them, Papa, she whispered. Those soldiers. I didn't mean to, Eli sat beside her. You were protecting me. That's not wrong. But what if I hurt you next time? He looked at her reflection and said, Then I'll forgive you before you do. Lyra blinked. You're not afraid? Eli smiled sadly. Of you? Never. You're my little girl, Lyra. Power doesn't scare me. Losing you does. She leaned her head on his shoulder. And for a moment the world was quiet again. That night, the stars moved. Literally. Lines of light crossed the sky like silver threads. The Queen's fleet had returned, but not to land. They formed a wall in orbit, cutting Earth 47 off from the rest of space. A deep hum filled the air, shaking windows. Eli stepped outside and saw glowing symbols forming over the farm. The same symbols he'd seen in the field before. A voice echoed through the valley, cold and distant. Eli Grayson of Earth, you have defied the crown of Zorath. Surrender the child or your planet will burn. Eli shouted back, though he knew they couldn't hear. Come and try. Lyra ran out. Papa, they'll destroy everything. Not if we make them listen. He took her hand. We can't hide anymore, Lyra. We end this, our way. They went to the old barn where the silver pod was still buried. Eli tore off the boards, revealing the glowing metal shell. This brought you here, he said. Maybe it can take you back. Or send a message. Lyra placed her hand on it. The markings lit up like fireflies. A soft hum filled the barn and a blue beam shot upward into the sky. Moments later, another voice answered, familiar but softer than before. The Queen. Child. Why do you resist me? Lyra closed her eyes. Because you never saw me as your daughter. You only saw your shame. The Queen's voice trembled slightly. You don't understand what you are. Eli stepped forward. She understands love. That's more than you ever did. A long pause. Then the voice hardened. So be it. The human will die first. The beam vanished. The air grew still. Then, explosions of light appeared over the hills. Alien soldiers dropped from the sky, landing in waves of dust and energy. Eli grabbed a wrench, a blade, anything he could use. He shouted to Lyra, Go inside and lock the doors. She shook her head. No, I won't leave you. Lyra, please. But before he could push her away, the first soldier charged. Eli swung the wrench, hitting the alien's arm, sparks flying. The weapon clattered to the ground. Another soldier fired, missing by inches. Eli ducked behind the tractor, heart pounding. He was outnumbered, but he kept moving, rolling, striking, distracting. He fought not to win, but to buy time. Lyra's fear turned to fire. Her hands glowed silver. The air around her shimmered like glass. Stop, she cried. A burst of energy exploded from her palms, throwing the soldiers backward. The light spread across the valley like a wave, bending trees and shaking the ground. Eli shielded his eyes. Lyra, stop, you'll hurt yourself. But she couldn't. The power was too strong, she screamed, falling to her knees. The light dimmed suddenly and she collapsed. Eli ran to her, lifting her into his arms. I've got you. I've got you. She opened her eyes weakly. Papa, she's coming. And she was. The Queen descended from the sky in a beam of light, her feet touching the earth as if it bowed beneath her. Her armor gleamed like a living mirror. You fought well, human, she said quietly. But this ends now. Eli held Lyra tighter. You want her, you'll have to go through me. The queen raised her hand and then stopped. Lyra's voice, soft but clear, filled the air. No more fighting. She rose, floating slightly above the ground, light wrapping around her like wings. You call me a curse. But look at me, mother. Do I look cursed? The queen stared, speechless. Lyra's light grew brighter. You wanted perfection. But love made me stronger than you ever imagined. Eli stepped back, eyes wide. Lyra. She turned and smiled faintly. You taught me what being human means. Now let me show her. The wind held. The valley glowed like dawn. The queen raised a shield, but it cracked under Lyra's light. The alien fleet trembled in orbit, their energy fields flickering. Eli watched, tears in his eyes, as Lyra's voice echoed through the sky. I am not your mistake. I am his miracle. The queen fell to her knees, her crown flickering, her heart breaking under the truth, and for the first time, the mighty ruler of Zorath wept. The valley was silent. The wind had stopped. Even the stars above seemed to hold their breath. Lyra floated in the center of the field, her silver light spilling across the ground like dawn. The Queen of Zorath knelt before her, trembling. Her crown lay cracked in the dirt. For the first time in her long life, she felt something she had forgotten long ago. Shame. Eli stood a few steps away, one arm shielding his face from the glow. His heart ached at the sight of Lyra, his little girl now shining like a living star. Lyra, he called softly. Come back. You don't have to do this. She looked at him, tears glowing on her cheeks. I have to, Papa. If I don't stop this light, it will destroy everything. The ground beneath her pulsed, rippling outward in circles of energy. Trees bent, the air shimmered, and the Queen's soldiers dropped their weapons, stunned by the power they felt. Eli took a cautious step forward. Then I'll help you. We'll do it together. Lyra smiled weakly. You already did. You gave me strength when I didn't have any. The Queen slowly rose, her voice trembling. Child, you cannot control the heart of Zorath. It will consume you. It consumed those before you. Lyra turned to her mother. Maybe it consumed them because they used it with hate. But I don't hate anymore. The Queen's eyes widened. You forgive me? Lyra's light softened. Yes. The Queen's armor cracked, pieces falling away like glass. Her face, once proud and perfect, was now streaked with tears. For years I believed strength meant perfection, she said quietly. But this human, she looked at Eli. He showed me something far greater. You loved her with no reason, no fear. Eli nodded slowly. That's what being human means. We love because we choose to. Lyra closed her eyes. The light around her flickered, unstable. Papa, it's too strong. I can't hold it much longer. Eli ran to her, grabbing her hand. It burned like fire, but he didn't let go. You're not alone, Lyra, you never were. She gasped, her eyes wide. It's calming. I can feel it. The light began to change color, no longer blinding but warm and golden. The wind turned gentle. Flowers pushed up through the scorched ground. The Queen watched in awe. She's balancing the heart. Lyra smiled through tears. No, we are. High above them, the Zorath fleet began to tremble. The ship's lights flickered and the massive engines went silent. From orbit, streams of silver energy poured downward toward Lyra, drawn by her presence. But instead of destruction, the light healed. Cracks in the earth closed. Burnt trees regrew their leaves. The soldiers dropped to their knees, their armor dimming as the glow passed through them. Eli held Lyra tightly as her body began to fade into soft light. No, stay with me, kiddo, Lyra whispered. I'm not going anywhere, Papa. I'll always be here. She pressed his hand to her chest. Right here. And then, like starlight dissolving into the morning sky, her form became pure radiance. It wrapped around Eli, around the Queen, around every living thing, before rising into the air like a beam of hope. The valley went still again. When the light faded, Lyra stood there, human in shape once more, her eyes no longer glowing silver, but warm and alive. She fell into Eli's arms, breathing softly. Papa, it's over. He laughed through tears. You did it, Lyra. You saved us. The Queen stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. No, you saved me. She looked at Eli. You showed me that love is not weakness. It's the only strength that endures. She removed her broken crown and placed it on the ground before them. I have ruled 1,000 worlds, yet I never understood what it meant to be a mother, until now. Eli met her eyes, tired but kind. Then start over, be better. That's what she'd want. The Queen nodded slowly. Perhaps humanity has more to teach than I ever imagined. She looked at Lyra one last time, her expression soft. Goodbye, my daughter. Lyra smiled gently. Not goodbye, just until next time. The Queen's ship lifted silently into the sky, disappearing into the stars. Days later, the valley was peaceful again. The birds returned. The air smelled of rain and new life. Eli and Lyra sat on the porch together, watching the sunset paint the horizon gold. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. Do you think she'll come back? Eli smiled. Maybe, but if she does, she'll come as a mother, not a queen. Lyra laughed softly. You think humans changed her? He chuckled. No, you did. She looked at the stars, now bright and calm. I guess the galaxy's a big place, huh? Eli nodded. Big enough for second chances. As night fell, the first star appeared, brighter than all the rest. Lyra pointed at it. That one looks like home. Eli smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. It is, kiddo. It always was. And under the quiet sky, a human and an alien, father and daughter, sat together, proving that love could cross any world, heal any wound, and shine brighter than the stars themselves.